Hello and welcome to Zero Cool Gaming and today's hardware review. Today we're going to be reviewing a piece of hardware that, in truth, I do not like. So this is not going to be a good review at all. Unfortunately, Sony hates us. And when I say us, I mean the older gaming crowd. They don't just hate us, they wish we would just go away permanently. And the creation of this abomination is proof of that fact. Not only do they hate the older gaming community, but they also want to make sure that the younger gaming community has no interest in ever playing retro games. Thus, the creation of the abomination. The PlayStation Classic. Oh yes, what a wonderful abomination they have created here. And let me explain what I mean by that. First off, we have the hardware itself. The controller is the cheapest thing I have ever used in my life. I have original PlayStation controllers, I also have the DualShock controllers, and even when comparing this controller that they provide with the original PlayStation controller, this controller is an abomination and an affront to everything that is good about retro gaming. Now let's move on to the emulation hardware that they put inside the PlayStation Classic. They used the cheapest, worst emulation hardware and software they could find. Why? I truly believe it is because they did not want children to find any joy in retro gaming at all. They got an agenda to push, they got some propaganda to play, and they don't want the children going back to old games to escape the insanity that they produce today. So they created the abomination. There are good emulation, there is good emulation software out there. Damn good emulation software out there. And they chose not to use it. They chose to use the cheapest, worst version of it deliberately. This is not an accident, people. At all. It was done deliberately. Now, will I still use this piece of junk? Absolutely. I got about 600 games for it, and I play RPGs. This system, even though it is an absolute piece of junk, will still play my slow-playing RPGs just fine, and I can read what's on the screen, and it does not disturb that at all. I'm not going to be able to play any type of fighting game or any type of game that requires quick button inputs or precise button inputs, period, because this thing will not accommodate that in any way, shape, or form. I've tried connecting better controllers to it. It does not solve the problem at all. In fact, the new controllers with a USB connection will not even be recognized by this hardware. That's how disgusting this abomination is. You can't even hook a good controller to it because it just will not recognize it. What a piece of junk. There is truly nothing good that I can say about this thing. All I can tell you, people, is just get some good emulation software yourself. It's out there. It's free. Download it, install it on your computer, and just, get the games. If you have discs, you can play them. Absolutely. Of course, you would have to have a disk drive for your computer, and they've done away with those too with all the new computers. There's reasons for this, people. That's why they make all these computer cases today with no ability to even put a disk drive into them. It's disgusting. Just absolutely disgusting. And this hardware that they created was, as far as I'm concerned, literally created to deter any young players from ever playing any kind of retro hardware or software. Retro gaming, they don't want you involved in it. Now let me explain to you why I think that is. It's because retro games were designed and created during a time when you didn't have the censorship of today shoved down your throat every single day, where you didn't have the agenda and propaganda of communism being shoved down your throat in your video game all the way through it. Back when creators were able to actually create something that was enjoyable and you could just have fun playing it, they don't want you to have that experience. They want you to be stuck in their matrix, playing their junk, and being, as far as I'm concerned, brainwashed by it. They hate us, period. And this junk, this abomination of hardware, is proof of that as far as I'm concerned. But like I said, it works with slow games, like the RPGs that I played. Like Final Fantasy VII works fine on it. Final Fantasy VIII works fine on it. Final Fantasy IX works fine on it. Star Ocean. Any of your Tales games. This type of stuff works fine. They're good stories, good games, good play. Doesn't bother me. Even with the abomination that they created, they couldn't create something so horrible that it wasn't able to play those games in a way that was at least enjoyable. Thank God for that. But these people, they hate us. They absolutely hate us. They do not like the older crowd. They do not want us to be playing older games. And they do not want our children playing them either. If I could have gotten just a regular PlayStation, I would have been happier. But unfortunately, trying to find that hardware today is, besides the fact that it's almost impossible, they want a premium price for stuff that's actually functional. And that is a sad reality that we live in today. Sony could have, and they chose not to. Key points there. They could have recreated their original PlayStation and released it. They could have redistributed their best-selling classic games on disc, and they would have sold like hotcakes. And they would have made 10 times what they made on this abomination. But they did not want to do that, people. It's not that they just chose not to. They literally did not want to do that at all. Period. They don't want the younger generation playing retro games. Retro games teach morals. Retro games teach values, virtues, even life skills like critical thinking. They don't want these young people to learn any of that. They want them to remain stupid. They want them to be completely entranced by their insanity. And they want them to believe what they're told, period. They do not want the younger generation to be thinking for themselves in any way, shape, or form, and they certainly don't want them playing their older games, because that's what it would teach them. Anyway, that's my rant for the day, and I hope you enjoy the rest of yours.